John, what justice mechanism and accountability process would you endorse?
I'd stand shoulder to shoulder with Ed Miliband, leader of the Labour Party, and hopefully the next Labour Prime Minister for this country, in that we need to absolutely 100% commit to the United Nations Human Rights Council's setting up a full, independent, international inquiry into what happened in Sri Lanka and what happened to the Tamil people. Ed Miliband has committed to that, and that's always been my position. We need an independent international inquiry into the events of 2009.
What steps do you think should be taken if the new government fails to make meaningful progress on cooperating with the UNHRC and ensuring justice for the victims by September 2015?
Well, time is now short. September 2015 will be with us very soon. So President Sirisena really needs to act and act urgently. I don't think it's appropriate that he should now set up another domestic accountability mechanism. We've been there before and it hasn't worked. He should fully commit to the United Nations Human Rights Council's proposals for an independent international investigation. And if he won't do that, and if there is no progress by September, I think there is no question we need to start considering sanctions. We need to put pressure on. This needs to happen. There's no doubt in my mind that it is absolutely legitimate to look into the allegations of genocide, and I personally feel that a genocide has occurred in Sri Lanka to the Tamil people. This is the most serious of crimes against human nature, against human beings. There can be no question that the only possible way forward is an independent international investigation, and I want to see President Sirisena move towards that as soon as possible, and if not, then I think the international community must come together. The European Union must come together on this, and the UK, we will be calling for sanctions. I, if elected Member of Parliament for Enfield North, will personally call for sanctions.
Do you support the Tamil nation's right to self-determination?
Absolutely, and when we talk about the right to self-determination, it is therefore a right. It isn't a gift to be given by somebody else. The Tamil nation has the right to self-determination, and that's enshrined in everything that we know about the United Nations for all peoples. Scotland has that right, the Tamil people have that right, and I would fully support the Tamil people's right to work within Sri Lanka, with the government in Sri Lanka and with the President, to determine how they will express their right to self-determination.
John, I know you are contesting in Enfield North. Can you name some of the areas within Enfield North so that will benefit our audience here?
Well, Enfield North is made up of 7 different wards or areas, and they are Enfield Lock, Enfield Highway, Turkey Street, Southbury, Chase, Enfield Town and Highlands. All of these areas are part of Enfield North.
John, can I also ask you, what is the message you are giving to the Tamil people in UK during the election day?
I think for Tamil people in the UK, I would ask that you support a Labour government for 2 reasons. Please go out and vote Labour, because first of all, in terms of this country, only a Labour government will invest in our National Health Service, in our schools and our nurseries, lowering tuition fees, supporting young people in education. Only a Labour government will invest in housing. We've seen the lowest level of house building since the 1920s. This is a major problem for people, particularly in London, where families can't any longer afford to live near each other or to get a foot onto the housing ladder. only Labour will support apprenticeships and developing jobs that are secure, well paid and long lasting. So I would urge people to vote Labour to lift the terrible gloom that we've had for the last 5 years, where the rich got richer and the poor got poorer. Everybody should be able to share in the gains that we are making in this country. Everybody should be able to have a stake in this country and get on and do well. So for that reason I'd urge you to vote Labour, but also only the Labour Party will stand by the Tamil people through rain and shine. We have been there. We were the first government to name what was happening in Sri Lanka in 2009. Gordon Brown was the first Prime Minister to call for a ceasefire. We have made it very, very clear from day one that there has to be an independent international investigation. And I think there's only a Labour government that will do all that it can to support that actually happening. And I know in Sri Lanka we see some moves forward which are welcome. We see the 19th Amendment, we see some efforts to get the Constitution back onto the road to democracy. We see a new Chief Justice, a Tamil Chief Justice at that, being appointed, and we see some land being returned. But let's face it, there is so much more that needs to happen. Huge swathes of land are still in the hands of the military. Very large military presence still in the northern and eastern provinces. The sexual violence against the war widows still continuing. Some political detainees have been released. Many more need to be. And for this country, we need to stop returning people to Sri Lanka until we can be certain that Tamils being returned to Sri Lanka are safe in their homeland. So for these reasons, for life here in Britain and for life for Tamils in Sri Lanka, I urge everybody to vote Labour on May the 7th.
Thank you, Joan, and wish you good luck.
Thank you.